The second that you find out that I am queer, my Blackness is then null and void in Black conversation. And folks don't realize that.
And I truly believe that if Black culture were to get out of the fight and just be, then we wouldn't have any of these issues.
The second that they realized that I was trans, it wasn't, oh, what Hope said was wrong. It was, oh, that man can't speak for me. And, oh, you don't understand the experiences. Or, oh, this conversation was about Black men and women, as if to say that I'm not Black at all, so I don't have a say-so in this conversation because I'm trans. Y'all are being reminded that these two things are deeply interconnected. It doesn't serve anybody to sit into this ideation that there's only one way to be a man, and yet you do it even though you don't like the way that women tell you that the way that you decide to be a man isn't masculine. It doesn't serve you to sit around and poke your chest out and be that all day every day because now you got a son that don't want to talk to you because he doesn't experience love from you.
Yeah, we are live. Yes, education is elevation. We're here for another episode of Office Hours. We know June is Pride Month. It's also Juneteenth. It also is Men's Mental Health Month. A lot of people like to talk riffraff about picking whether you are Black or whether you're gay or whether you're a woman and making sure that you stick with something first. So today I thought we would have a nice inclusive conversation about being an ally, about Pride Month. I got some special people with me today. We got something in store for y'all as well. And you know what I'm saying? So I have these amazing people right here. Jay the Giant. Jay the Giant. Jay the Giant. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give y'all a disclaimer. Jay is going to say some things that is going to be very unfiltered. And if you know what I'm saying, find yourself clutching your pearls a few times, it is all out of love. And it is what I call purposeful provocativeness. You know what I'm saying? And then Hope Giselle, I don't think she need any introduction. But in this conversation, I feel like things are going to come out as well. And I feel like it's just going to be good because we need to have more conversations of gay Black men, trans Black women, straight Black men, being able to have, you feel me, inclusive conversation and one that is not like too bullshit where we like, I feel like we're gonna have a real conversation. Jumping right out of it though, when y'all see dialogue on the internet specifically about now, Jay, is you Black or is you gay first? Hope, is you Black first or is you trans first? And before y'all respond, because Hope, you sent this to me and I thought that it's a great way to kind of jump into it, you know what I'm saying? So just let me put this up real quickly quick. Hey, sometimes you gotta choose.
Why can't y'all put down the gay stuff and put down the trans stuff for a little bit and let's just fight the Black cause, right? And I've heard that. And my response to that was, I can't put it down because I'm Black and I am gay simultaneously. And I am fighting for my life on this hand for being Black, fighting for my life on this hand for being gay. How can I choose one over the other? I would be willing to subordinate my fight being gay and put that on the back burner if I could find safety and refuge amongst the Black community. But I can't. And I said to my two straight homeboys, and these are two guys that I love, I said, Black men, there is a conversation that y'all need to have amongst each other. A, why y'all don't have any respect for one another and are so willing to kill one another. B, why y'all don't have respect for Black women and you see them as objects and disposable and less than. C, why the presence of anything homosexual or trans just completely rattles you and gets your panties in a damn bunch. He was like, why can't y'all put down the gay stuff?
How we gonna start the conversation? I think it's very, I feel like appropriate in a very inappropriate way to just go and jump right into it. Floor is yours.
I think the thing for me is I feel very much so the same way that Funky Dineva feels. And I don't often agree with Funky. I had to block Funky.
Because you know Funky personally, don't you?
Yeah, I know Q, right? Like, y'all know Funky, I know Q. And I often don't agree with him. And I even had to block him on social media after a couple of the comments that he made on another show. But anyway, I agree with this. And I think that one of the things that people fail to realize is that as Black queer people, the second that you find out that I am queer, my Blackness is then null and void in Black conversations. And folks don't realize that. When I am navigating the world and I use my own situation as a reference for this, right? When I was on a particular show on a particular network and I was with Dr. Umar, there were so many women in those comments that were like, oh my God, yes, Hope is speaking. Girl, you better talk that talk. Say the things of the things of the things of the things. The second that they realized that I was trans, it wasn't, oh, what Hope said was wrong. It was, oh, that man can't speak for me. And, oh, you don't understand the experiences. Or, oh, this conversation was about Black men and women, as if to say that I'm not Black at all. So I don't have a say-so in this conversation because I'm trans, right? And so to Dineva's point, if there was safety in the idea of just talking about my Blackness and having that conversation be an isolated one for me, I wouldn't have an issue not talking about transness because I would feel safe in the space where I'm Black. But because I can't feel safe in the space where I'm Black, I have to also remind Black people when I'm talking about Black issues that I am a trans person. I can't talk about what it means to want to go to Ghana because they're inviting everybody back home without also reminding you that in Ghana, it's literally against the law for me to exist. So I can be happy about the idea of going back home. I can be happy about the idea that they want us to come there and live for free. But I have to also remind you that when I get off the plane, should somebody sniff out or whiff out of who I am, then I could be beheaded and ain't nobody gonna give a fuck. And those are two realities that I have to sit with at the same time. And to not talk about that or to be asked not to talk about them in real time in that situation. I've had people say, well, this isn't the time to talk about that LGBT shit. We're talking about going back home to Africa. As if my Blackness mixed in with my transness is not worthy of the conversation at the same time.
Jay, as a gay Black man, and you chose, hey man, that gay shit is for that time. Now you gotta be talking about being Black. Like what's your response to that as well?
I agree fully with what Hope said about in Black spaces. I have to intentionally hold my Blackness and my gayness at the same time because otherwise there is no safety created for that experience. I absolutely agree with that. But I do think Black, queer, and LGBTQIA plus people take it one step further because we often are in white gay spaces where we have to hold our Blackness and our sexuality at the same time because our Blackness is not safe in those spaces. And so I find in my experience that I have to walk this very, very fine line of ensuring that I can create my own safety in either these gay spaces that are not built for Black people or Black spaces that are not built for gay people. And the hard part about this, the hardest part is it feels like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. Because both of these cultures want me to put off something so that I can fight their fight. They want me to put off my gayness in Black spaces so we can Juneteenth it up. Or they want me to put off my Blackness in gay spaces so I can march in a parade. And I don't want to do either of those because I don't have authentic safety. And so it just ends up being very, very difficult for us to just navigate that to where a lot of times, if you notice, that is why Black gay pride has to have a space for itself so that we can be all of these things at the same time. I don't get the Juneteenth and I don't get, and we in our culture, it's white pride because if it ain't Black, it's white. So we create our own space so that we can be both halves of this coin at the same time.
So in keeping the conversation going, Funky said something specifically about straight Black men needing to have a conversation amongst ourselves. Just out of curiosity, what would be some of those specific things that I need to be able to bring up in the conversation to make it where I'm being intentional about how we create those more safer spaces in Black spaces, particularly for Black queer, Black trans, Black intersex, Black gender non-conforming people, for like straight niggas. Because that's what I recognize what he said, and I think that I agree with everything y'all said, and not trying to make it where I'm making y'all doing too much labor. And feel free to be like, hey, bro, this is what we do. Feel free. I know Hope gonna do it anyway, but I'm making sure, like, hey, nigga, if I'm asking too much, Call me out now, but just out of curiosity, like what would the conversation be about if it was one that was intentional about making where it's safe amongst Black men?
I think that because I think we're having a conversation on social media right now where a lot of Black men, a lot of Black cisgender heterosexual men specifically, but cisgender as a whole, because some gay men are just as problematic, have had this conversation where they thought that what they were going to do is we gonna decenter Pride this year and remind them that June is men's mental health. Right? Like, this is the first time that I've really seen like a huge push for like men's mental health month. Right? And I think that that is intentional. But the problem is what happened is that now it's backfiring because y'all are being reminded that these two things are deeply interconnected. Your homophobia, your transphobia, your homomisia, your transmisia is deeply rooted in the reason why a lot of y'all have mental health issues to begin with. The idea that you are being suppressed and that your masculinity has to show up in a specific way and that you can't speak like this and you can't do this and you want to wear your shoes like this, but you can't, and you want to talk like that, but women don't like men that talk like that, and you got to show up in this particular way, and so now you feel like you got to bottle all these things up, and men can't talk to each other, and I can't say this to my daddy, and I ain't never had a hug, and all of that shit stems from you all's version of homo and transmisia, because nobody don't want to be gay, nobody don't want to show emotions, nobody don't want to do X, Y, and Z, and in the attempt to decenter Pride Month and be like, oh, well, what about men this year, right? Like, fuck those gay people. Let's talk about men. It's men's mental health month, right? All you've done is sink deeper into why it's important to celebrate Pride and why it's important to make sure that we're moving away from tropes that don't serve anybody. It doesn't serve anybody to sit into this ideation that there's only one way to be a man, and yet you do it, even though you don't like the way that women tell you that the way that you decide to be a man isn't masculine. It doesn't serve you to sit around and poke your chest out and be that nigga all day, every day, because now you got a son that don't want to talk to you because he doesn't experience love from you. But you feel some type of way about that, and that shit fucks with you, and that eats at your mental health. But we don't want to have that conversation because that's gay. Mm-hmm. And those things are intersectionally locked with the same thing that y'all were trying to get away from. And now you have to have a conversation about how your homophobia is affecting you as a man and your mental health in this same month.
It reminded me of this video I seen my boy AG. He said, heterosexuality for men, it's not just a thing that you just be in. You got to prove you straight every single day.
Every day.
And the exhaustion of having to prove you straight every single day, I think it's the thing that impacts the way that a lot of heterosexual cisgender men show up in allyship, because they believe they allyship will some way, you feel me, impact how they straightness is seen. Because again, I got to prove them straight every second. If there's a second I forget to prove I'm straight, somebody gonna try to negotiate my heterosexuality. And in the hood, you might get dominated for that. Before you talk, Jay, because Hope says some things, and I know sometimes you feel me, I'm hoping that this live brings in more male audience as well, a straight male audience. So sometimes they don't listen to women. Trans women, cis women, they don't listen. So I got just a little snippet, just a little snippet of a little something, because I think Hope says some things that I know Jay gonna be able to add to as well. But let's make sure we stir in the pot just a little bit more.
Pride Month has mastered their craft, because the male loneliness epidemic is our reward for centuries of homophobia. The two things are forever linked. Nobody supports men's mental health. Yeah, because holding up the next man is gay, right? You can see it even as young as kids like 6, 7, 8 years old. I do a lot of mentorship, right? They are absolutely terrified to be caught by their peers doing anything that's associated with femininity, even things like gentleness, kindness, thoughtfulness, right? Under fear of being called gay or not manly enough. And this thought process only gets more warped and twisted the older they get. Liking women too much is considered gay. If I was to get on this app right here and start talking about, I love women so much, the way they smell, the way they look, the way they talk, the way they act, that's how I feel about black women. But if I were to make a 5-minute video about it, right, what are people going to call me? Soft, panderer, beta male, a lesser man, gay. Now, homophobia at this point has created a vacuum where men can only fill it with things like loneliness, isolation, hypermasculinity, hypersexuality. Why is that? Because the only straight way to show affection is with a romantic partner. And this typically creates two realities. Either one, you end up burdening the other person with the entirety of your mental and emotional well-being, right? Or two, because you've cut off these thoughts and feelings for so long, you're unable to emotionally express express yourself. I get so irritable sometimes when people be like, oh, men are better friends than women. We don't be falling out over nothing. We should. We need to fall out about more. Only spaces you can show affection to another man in are sports and music, right? Like if I were to say, oh, my best friend is 6 years. I haven't seen him in a month, man. I can't wait to see him later on tonight. That would be quite queer of me. But if I were to say, oh, I can't wait to see Gunna in concert later on tonight, that's totally socially acceptable. Like I used to be a college athlete, and one of my friends is a wide receiver at UCLA, and we walking around campus one day, and people are coming up just, oh my gosh, bro, you went crazy last night, you so da-da-da. And it's an audience primarily of men showing love and affection because it's within the context of sports, and that's socially acceptable. As soon as that context is removed, so is the love and affection, right? And I think that's why so many people turn into absolute burnouts as soon as their sporting careers are over. Going from experiencing camaraderie, affection, kindness every single day between your teammates and your general community to just zero in day-to-day life is jarring, bro. The average man can name an obscure compliment they received platonically 3 years ago because it's so rare that they receive one. You've ever just been outside with a woman, you know their reality is completely different. They're constantly being showered with comments and giving them, right? I love your hair. I love your glasses. I love your eyes. I love your smile, right? And I think sometimes this can create a twinge of jealousy that you see a lot, especially on the internet, right? Where people feel like, oh, women's lives are so much easier. No, the biggest difference is that as a straight man, it's not enough to just be straight. You have to prove you're straight every single day. That is not natural.
You want to catch the rest of that video, you definitely should go look at AG on TikTok, or you can go to my Instagram page with it. Damo has a quote right here, Jay. I think it fits well in what we're getting into. On this mentality of, riding for your niggas and lying to your bitch, or, what I'm saying, being able to always tell the truth to, what I'm saying? And of course, it's like within straight male culture, as a gay black man, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are a lot pettier. Master's level dissertation that Hope Giselle Gossi gave us. So I'm gonna just give it to you how I know. And one thing that I know is the straight men in my life, in a lot of my friends' lives, that are absolutely straight, like unequivocally straight, never have to prove anything. Like when I think about my brother, my baby brother, who, he and his wife are married, have a beautiful child together. When I think about you, Conscious, your sexuality is never in question because you just gave up the fight. Like, I don't know if you intentionally did that, but I don't think that your sexuality is threatened by mine, and mine for damn sure ain't threatened by yours. And Deion Sanders, I do like for you, Funky for you, Hope is Deion Sanders for me. But he has one quote that I said that I live by, and he says, "If a man has to prove he is the man, then he is therefore proving that he is not the man, because a man who is the man just is the man." And so, if you have to prove any aspect of yourself, if you have to prove anything about yourself, then you are therefore saying that I am not that. So now let me find something external to myself so I can justify being that. If you were secure in your sexuality, anybody, I am secure in my head or in my gayness, and I never have to prove that to anybody. And so the idea that a straight man has to prove it to other straight people, to gay people, to people that are of trans experience, to people that are anything different than him, is justifying the fact that his insecurity is on full display. And I think that the interesting thing about, of course, go ahead.
Let me push back on that, because I think that to that degree, there are going to be some people in the comments that are going to say, well, then why do trans people have to da-da-da-da-da-da-da? And what I think that a lot of cishet men, and especially cishet men of color with a scope in on black men, don't realize is that a lot of y'all have more in common with trans people than y'all know.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the fact that you do that, right? There is a need to do that because there's safety and people being able to prove and to come behind and justify and hone in on the fact that you are that nigga. The reason why there is a need to do those things, because without that, you lose your safety. And once you're out of the arc of safety, you are then treated like the very same people that you are spending your entire fucking livelihood trying to make it seem like you're a tertiary citizen. So there is a reason why a lot of these cishet men are like, oh, I'm straight, I'm this, I'm that, I'm da-da-da-da-da. Because when you can't say it for yourself, your sister, your baby mama, your cousins, and them are going to be like, no, my brother would never. It's about setting up my brother would never, my sister would never, my da-da-da would never, so that way when a person catches you nevering like never before, you have a bandwagon of people that's going to be able to justify that. The same way that a lot of transgender people are like, I have to get as many of you on my side to be able to understand that I'm one of the good trans people, so that when these people come over and try to take away my manhood, take away my womanhood, tell me that I'm not this, tell me that I'm not that, I have enough people in the bandwagon that are willing to say, oh no, because my friend is X, Y, and Z, and she deserves to be treated like so-and-so, and he deserves to be treated like a man, and fuck how he came into existence, and all of these different things. And so in the same way that trans people are often spending a lot of our time trying to justify what we know to be true, cishet men are often doing that for the same reason. There is a safety in having a community of people that have bought into your justification to keep you protected when the world starts to say, I don't know if you different, like, and there's something safe in that, and I think that that's the reason for the justification.
I absolutely agree, but I would just offer that all of that just sounds very low self-awareness to me. And I think that the most evolved straight people in my life, men or women, do not feel the need to prove anything. And men, women, or people of trans experience, because the most evolved people in my perfect example is when the first time I met Hope Giselle Gotzi, right? I see a woman. And so my masculinity activates. And so I'm over here opening doors and holding her hand as she walk up the stairs, just because she didn't have anything to prove to me in that instant. I don't have anything to prove to her. At the very least, that I see a woman, you saw a man, and we exchanged as such. And I truly believe that if black culture were to get out of the fight and just be, then we wouldn't have any of these issues. I would be able to pick up the black fight as we started. I'd be able to pick up the black fight and get into the black fight on everything, because I'm just being me, y'all just being y'all. We staying out of each other's lane, and we come together where it makes sense. Same thing over here. If people would just be, mind your own fucking business, then we will all be in a place where we could be fully in all of our nuances, because we are fully in all of the experience of our lives. But I absolutely truly believe and the interesting thing is, the first time you asked this question, Conscious, about my take on straight men, the only person that came to mind was my barber, because he is toxically masculine, but he does an amazing fade. So I just deal with it. But the gotcha is, anytime I've engaged with somebody who is insecure around me because I'm one of the gays, because I'm one of the girls, it is because you are insecure because I'm one of the girls. Your insecurity don't change me, bro. I'm just trying to get my hair cut.
I thought this is what I think. I think that because the black community is so used to being under attack and being under siege, and we feel like there's always already been an attack on the black family structure, I think that a lot of straight cis people and people that's listening to this, when I say cisgender, I'm talking about that this means you identify with the gender you were assigned at birth. Recognizing that a doctor assigns you male or female at birth, and we acknowledging there are people that don't identify with the gender they were assigned at birth. That's when I say that. I'm not calling nobody a sissy. I want to make sure I'm being clear with that. But to my point, I think that a lot of people in the community identify black queer people and their presence as being a threat to the black community because reproduction, or because they believe that the white man created transness or the white man created homosexuality, and thus for your mere existence is an attack on the structure. And I think that a lot of times, or at least when I'm in like these conscious spaces and places, or these uber pro-black spaces and places, I find that correlation happen.